Hi, everyone, and welcome to week 6. So this week, your focus will be on working to develop your final annotated bibliographies. I haven't really introduced any new readings or materials per se, and I ask that you just take time to look back at the materials from the past 2 weeks, in weeks 4 and 5. And by materials, I mean any of the readings that you had, any exemplars, any feedback and feed forward you got from your classmates, from me, etc. Uh, the goal this week is really to build on the scaffolding work you've already done. That's why last week in week 5 and in the prior week, I had you doing some of the legwork already, identifying different sources for the different source types and doing an exemplar annotation just so you could really get the feel of it before. And then this week shouldn't be too overwhelming, right? Because you've already located your sources, and this week you can sort of just focus on building out the meat of those annotations. I know from looking at your discussion board posts that one of the most difficult things can really be reining yourself in. Brevity is difficult. As Blaise Pascal said, I wanted to write you a short letter, but I didn't have the time, so I wrote you a long one instead. Now that's a paraphrase, but essentially what that means, as you can probably gather, is that writing succinctly, brevity, is a learned skill. Anyone can go on and on for days, right? But being forced to write Twitter style, I guess, and really choose your words and pay attention to what you're saying and limiting yourself, it can be extremely difficult, but it's really important. It's kind of like when you have only, say, 10 minutes to deliver a conference presentation and you want to go on for 20, so you have to really choose. It's kind of like with your educational narrative presentations. A lot of you said you really had trouble limiting it. The reason I did that is because it's important. It forces you to make difficult decisions and really get to the essence of the heart of what you want to say, right? And so again, that's what we're doing this week with our ed narratives. Limit yourself to 300 words for the entire annotation and just get to the heart of it. No fluff. You don't need a ton of descriptors. It's okay to use phrases. You don't need long, this isn't an essay you're writing. It's more notes style, okay? So while you want to use proper grammar and punctuation, etc., it's really okay if it doesn't necessarily sound like prose, if it doesn't sound great, right? As long as you're capturing the essence and the heart and the meat of what these sources are all about. So here, just as quick links, I have a quick link to the OWL Purdue site, a quick link to the ANBIB template, and a quick link to Lindley Hummel, our education research librarian's contact. Don't wait till the last minute to reach out for help. Lindley's always there for you, but she can get overwhelmed. She helps a lot of students. And if you want to reach out to me, make sure you're doing that by about midweek as well, just so I can make sure I can get to all of you. So just briefly, when you are offering your peer review, also known as a critical analysis, fancy way to say it, it's important to recognize the difference between feedback and feed forward. You should be offering both. Now, I've spoken about feedback and feed forward before in past weeks, but I really think it's important to rise this up now and make sure that you definitely understand the difference. So I have in this little box the essentially embracing brevity, what feedback is and what feed forward is. And the key here is that feedback and feed forward should be specific and it should be targeted. Now, what that means is that you want to be it in text comments or when you're giving your feed forward, that you're offering concrete suggestions. This is the issue. This is how you can improve your work moving forward. And as needed, please provide a resource. So right here is a link to a presentation I developed to help students in one of my writing courses. And I'm just going to click over to that right now so you can see, right? This is something I did in Screencast. I used Camtasia actually to record this, right? And it says critical analysis because essentially that's what a peer review is, right? You're critically analyzing a student's work. I did develop this for a writing course that I teach. And I point this out because you're going to see references maybe to MLA. I think at the end, I refer to a piece of writing specifically that we were reading that week. Please just ignore those minor things. That's maybe 2 seconds worth of this presentation. I include this because I really took the time to develop. I spent a lot of time developing it and making sure that it really gave a very quick and dirty look at feedback and feed forward. And I offer specific exemplar feed forward that I had given a student in the past so you could see what good feed forward looks like, right? And I ask that you please review this short, I think it's maybe 7 minutes, review this presentation before offering your peer reviews this week, because in the presentation I offer, I think it's about 4 questions that you can think about or address when you're offering your peer review. Now, I want to point this out. You don't have to offer this, but in this paragraph here, right, I say applying feedback and feed forward is important because, right? It's not only important because of this, it's important for this reason. And then I say to illustrate, see these vignettes, and I offer you an example. This paragraph is an example of what's called feed up, right? And I share this with you because this is something, if you're teaching or if you're a manager, this applies across the board to any profession. Feed up is when you tell people or you outline the importance and value of the activity. Assigning value to a process is what really makes it meaningful. And when something is meaningful in your learning, it's lasting, right? Assign meaning, get lasting knowledge, get lasting value, all right? So offering feed up essentially answers the why should I care question. You don't have to offer this in your peer reviews. I've already offered it here, telling you why feedback and feed forward is important. That's the why should I care question, right? But everybody is always asking it. How many, if you're teaching, how many of your students or how many of the people that you work with have said either out loud in a meeting or via email or in a conversation, or even just in their own minds, how many times have you thought to yourself, why am I doing this? What's the point? Who cares, right? And sometimes it's great just to have someone tell you that. I'm having you do this project because this is why it's important. This is why it's valuable. This is how it applies to you, right? Assign that value, make it meaningful, make it lasting. So I just wanted to point that up. Again, you don't need to offer the feed up, but I did here. So you can see and hopefully use that in your own work moving forward. So for the discussion board this week, it's pretty straightforward. By Friday, I've extended it a day, so you don't have to have it up by Thursday. But by Friday, I want you to post a near final .doc draft of your annotated bibliography for peer review. Make sure it's fully formatted in APA 7th. And you want to put for the title of your annotated bibliography, base it on the description of your problem issue or topic from last week, a unique title. So it could say something like this, annotated bibliography, and then your problem issue or topic. So we know it's an annotated bibliography on X, Y, or Z, right? That it's on gender disparity in schools or gender disparity in the workplace or whatever, your PIT is, right? So give that unique title after annotated bibliography. And then I also wanted, I didn't put this in here, but I want to make sure you remember when you are writing your reference entries, meaning the author, the publication year, the title, and the URL and all that, the first line in APA, the first line of a reference entry is flush left. After the first line of your reference entry, every subsequent line within that entry is indented 5 spaces. So picture a paragraph, right? When you start a new paragraph, the first thing you do is indent 5 spaces, start writing, and then after that first line, it's flush left, right? A reference entry in APA is literally the exact opposite. The first line is flush left, and then all subsequent lines are indented 5 spaces. Then when you go to the next reference, you start flush left, and so you get the pattern, right? So just make sure that you're doing that. I'm not able to do that in Canvas all the time. So if I give you an exemplar reference, that's not something you're going to see. But if you look in the exemplars of the annotated bibliographies from past students, you will see that they did do that. I know that's kind of a mechanical, you might think overly specific thing for me to say, but one of the goals of this course is to really have you become quite adept at APA style and formatting. And that's really important moving forward, right? So in your post by Friday, I also want you to include just a short, it can be a paragraph or a video using Studio or Panopto, totally your choice, describing strategies for these questions here and what you found most useful for locating, for evaluating, and then any challenges or successes. So very brief, right? And then by Sunday, I'm suggesting that you record and embed a video right from the DB. Now, I strongly suggest this. I'm never going to require you to do something like this because students might not be comfortable with it, and I want to make sure that everything is always as accessible as it can be, right? But if you can, I strongly suggest recording and embedding a video right in the DB forum. And a lot of you might not know how to do this. I saw a couple of students asking, how did you do that, right? So I did a short 1 minute, 48-second video here to show you how to do that right from the DB. And that way you can offer your concrete feed forward just via your webcam. And that way you can point out specific areas in a student's writing. You can also offer written and text comments if you want. But I think that using a video is a great way to really get across your points a lot more succinctly and in a much more personalized manner. All right. So I think that's probably it for this week. Just make sure you check out the annotated bibliographies exemplars. Look at 2+ of your classmates and offer your either video or preferably video or written feedback. And I think that's basically it. It says here by Sunday, submit your annotated bibliography. I'm actually going to change that. And you can submit that by Monday night instead. So I apologize for not changing that. But in any case, if you have any questions, never feel shy about contacting me. I'm always happy to help. And I wish you a lovely week. I look forward to seeing your submissions by next Monday night. Take care.